Hey everyone, my name is Doc and I'm one of the founders of the Hood Collective, and today I'm going to be answering the question, what do you need to know before starting a cannabis business? We deal with a lot of cannabis businesses often coming to us after they've already opened, they've been operating for a while, maybe several years, and they're coming to us because their marketing is starting to struggle or they're running into roadblocks, hurdles, things that weren't there when they opened or that they weren't prepared for when they were opening. And unfortunately, when they come to us at that point, it's too late often to fix anything without a complete rebrand, without, kind of going back to the roots and fixing what is at the core of the problem. And so that's why we are very happy when people come to us before they've opened, and we're able to offer a lot of insight and things that will help them prepare so that when they are open, they aren't getting caught by surprise. So the number one thing that you need to know before you open your cannabis business is the green rush is over. If you've heard of the green rush, the excitement, initial wave of money going into the industry in those first few years, in those first few states, those days are over. Even in newer states that are coming online now or will be coming online in the near future, it's no longer this kind of wide open playing field that it was at the beginning. There's a lot of competition. Even in new states, there's a lot of influx of successful brands that are like, oh, let's capitalize on this state early, and struggling brands that are like, oh, we're struggling in our current state, maybe things are gonna be better in this new state. So even that initial 1 to 2 year bump that a lot of new businesses were experiencing in these new states, that's no longer even necessarily the case. So you need to come into this industry with your wise-eyed open. You need to understand that it is competitive, it is tough, you have extra hurdles and extra uncertainties that most businesses don't have to deal with. Things are hopefully getting better on the regulation side, but that's not a certainty, and it doesn't fix everything. And so if your business plan is, we just need to open and we'll start making money and then we can invest it in our brand, invest it in our operations, you're just going to be losing money. And you're not going to get whatever that initial investment is back. You need to be well funded and, just as importantly, if not more importantly, well prepared and well thought out in terms of what your business plan is, how you are unique in the market, and how you're going to differentiate yourselves from everyone else. And that leads directly into point number 2 that I want to make, which is you need to know what makes you different before you open for business. I see so many businesses, so many grows, so many brands, and I see so much enthusiasm, especially from newer people in the industry, people that may have lots of experience in cannabis, but are new to the legal industry, and I hear the same things over and over again about, oh, we're the only ones doing this. We really care about quality. We really care about, the genetics. We really care about the sustainability. It's the same bullet points over and over again. And if that's all you have going for you, if that's the only thing that distinguishes you, then you have nothing to distinguish yourself in the marketplace. And what I usually tell people is when you're in this industry, you are either a brand or you are a commodity. And when you are a commodity, it means that, like any other farm crop, for example, you are just competing on price. And if you can get your grow efficient enough that your price per pound is better than your competitor, then you're able to sell it as cheap or cheaper than everyone else and still make a profit, that's how you're going to make money. And that's the only way you're going to make money. It's two things really when you're a commodity in this industry. It's how much what's your price point? How low can you go and still make a profit? And what is your THC level? I know that's not a great indicator of whether you have a good product or not, but it is what the industry and the audience, the consumer, has kind of settled upon out of ignorance, out of not really knowing better, not having the education in the industry to let them know what really matters in a way that they can make purchasing decisions with. And so it's only those two numbers, and that's it. And so if you're coming into this industry thinking, oh, I'm going to succeed because I know so much about this process, I've been doing it for so long, I'm a legacy grower, I'm a legacy seller, I understand the people, I have a community in this state, in this region, and I have all the connections. None of that matters if you can't be competitive on price, or, which brings me to the third point I need to make, the only true differentiator other than price is your brand. And in order to be able to sell at a higher price point, at a premium price point, you need to have a brand and invest in that brand as a way of communicating why you are special, why you are unique, why your products are better than other people's products. And just imagine it like this. Person goes into the dispensary, they have so many products to choose from. How do they pick A, B, C? Why are they picking yours and not someone else's? They're looking at price, they're looking at THC level, and they're looking at brand. So everything on this shelf is about the same price. And which one are they going to pick? The one the budtender recommends, the one that looks good in the packaging, the one they heard about from their friends. They might have seen it on social media. They might have seen a review from an influencer, all the different ways of marketing your product. But that's all just, a framework of what we're really saying is, do you have a strong brand? And when people see it, do they think, oh yeah, that is my vibe, that's my jam, that's the thing that I like, because they connect to it on an emotional level. That's what branding's all about. And the only way in this industry you are going to be able to, bump up your prices and sell at a higher price point, one that is sustainable, is if you have the brand that makes your product attractive. Because like I said before, otherwise you're just a commodity, you're just one of the many they can choose from, and you're just competing on price. And so the bottom line is, the green rush is over. If you want to succeed, you need to be really smart, you need to be really strategic, you need to plan really well, you need to spend money really well, and you need to answer that question. Are you a commodity? In which case you want to be focused on efficiency. Every step of the way in your process, from the seed, if you're a grower, all the way to being on the shelf, how can you reduce your costs as much as possible? Or are you a brand? Are you creating an experience? Are you creating a vibe? Are you creating something that the consumer wants to be a part of when they see your product on the shelf, when they see your product being used by someone else, and they're saying, oh, that looks cool. And then they're going to be willing to pick out yours, number one, from the, all the other comparable brands, comparable prices. Oh, that one is the one I like and I want to keep going back to. Or even be willing to go up a level, go to that top shelf or the higher shelf and say, oh, this one looks good. Maybe, for that, I'm willing to pay a little bit extra more. That is where branding comes in, and you have to invest in your brand with money, time, intention, thought, creativity. All those things are necessary to be able to succeed in this industry. So It may not seem like I gave you really concrete answers to the question, what do you need to know? Maybe you're thinking of like, oh, I need to know about 280E, or I need to know about this or that specific thing. No, I'm looking at the bigger picture, and even though it doesn't seem like specific actionable advice, it really is the most important advice. Is if you are not investing in your brand, or you are not realizing that you're a commodity that has to be as efficient as possible, you are in this kind of middle gray area that is just destined to either in the short term, medium term, to fail. You're going to be outcompeted by the big brands, the big, multi-state operators that can, just beat you on efficiency because they're at scale that you can't reach. You have to lean into one of those two, or you're just going to be struggling the whole time. If you have any questions, if you want to get in touch to learn more about what I mean by branding versus commodity, feel free to reach out. You can find me on our website. You can, I'm pretty easy to find. You can leave a comment, you can do whatever. It's easy to get a hold of me. I look forward to having, whatever conversation you need. And yeah, thanks for listening to this video, and I'll see you next time.